and they were not afraid of the king's command. Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. And by faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who was invisible. And through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of the blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, essaying to do, were drowned. Now, I want to get here and stay here in Hebrews, but before we do that, we're going to have to spend a little time down in Egypt this morning before we get to our text. And you know what we find in the Old Testament as we study the Word of God? We find it explained and made understandable in the New Testament. The Old Testament is the foundation. It was a shadow of the things to come. And so when we look at the Old Testament, we're going to learn some foundational truths for our living in this New Testament age. And there's a truth here that I think is very important. It's a very simple truth, but it's a very important truth. And in order to get it, we'll have to go back to the land of Egypt just for a little while this morning. If we'll go back to Egypt and in the book of Exodus and read starting around chapter 7 and then go along to the book of Exodus, and if we would come to chapter number 12 and we would come and we would walk in this place called Egypt in the evening time, maybe around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the evening on this particular night. And if we were to walk around Egypt, we would find Egypt a nation that was once the greatest nation, probably the most powerful nation in the world, obviously the richest nation. We would find a nation and a people who have been crippled. We would find a nation who is on the very brink of destruction. We would find a nation who's been facing the wrath and the judgment of God. If we study this out, we find there have been 9 plagues that have been placed upon and enacted upon this nation called Egypt. There has been a river of blood that we read about when Moses raised that staff and that rod and the river that they worshipped, and all these plagues are an attack upon the false gods of Israel. And that river has been turned to blood until when an Egyptian mother would come out and she would come out to possibly get some water to wash their clothes, and she finds there's no water, only blood in the river, and the Bible said that it smelled bad, it stank, and they finally had to dig along the bank